All right, folks, welcome to one of the few remaining virtual show and shares for Knox Makers Tuesday nights. We are doing this going on over a year now, and we are counting down the days, but we'll talk about that more later. We're going to get started tonight. Oh, just a reminder, if you want to show at a future virtual show and share, you can email sas@knoxmakers.org. You don't have to be a member to show. We encourage all people to show what they're working on, what they are stuck on, what they failed at, anything like that. Tonight we have Andrew starting first with an Aircon install.
Hello. Hi, everybody. So I recently acquired a building that was only partially serviced with ductwork and air conditioning. And so in an effort to do something that both heats and cools as well as doesn't break my wallet in half, I found that there's several of these Chinese-made mini split heat pump air conditioning units that are available for relatively cheaply. This cost me about $1,100. It is a 1200 BTU unit that has, I don't know, both heating and cooling and a SEER rating of 20-ish, give or take. So the process is pretty straightforward. The first thing you do is take the template out. This is for the interior unit, obviously. You take the template out, you put it where you want it on the wall, and that'll guide your holes that you need to plunge in it. I don't know if you can see here or not. There's plaster on a cinder block structure here, so it's a little bit hard to see the actual courses of cinder block. But in the bottom right corner there of that template is a hole that needs to be drilled, and I am dead center in between two courses of cinder block, which is doable, but certainly makes the job a lot more difficult. So if you switch over to the next slide here, you can see that I've scooched it down a little bit here relative to the conduit up top there, and I drilled that hole. So I don't have a masonry hole saw that is 2.5 or whatever, 2.75 inches in diameter. So I just went ahead and drilled a whole bunch of holes in there and knocked it out with a hammer. And then clean it up a little bit with an old rat tail file that I had. Once that's done, go to the next page. You come out to, oh, is that the same slide again? You mount the interior bracket that holds the interior unit. It obviously needs to be in a precise location relative to that hole. I also drilled a hole in the other side of the cinder block. These cinder blocks are hollow, thankfully. So the hole outside is slightly lower than the hole inside, and that allows it to drain. There's a drain line that comes off of this interior unit, and there's no pump or anything. It just collects condensate and then drains away. So if you have any sort of uphill slant or anything like that, you're probably going to end up causing leaks and issues. So everything should flow downhill if possible. Next slide. This is what the interior unit looks like mounted. For the most part, this is pretty straightforward. On the back side of that is a line set that comes through the hole. It includes the condensation line as well as 2 refrigerant lines that act for both heating and cooling. Pressure cycling. So you can see there's a small little area in the bottom right corner of that piece of plastic. That's where that hole actually falls through. This made me furious, mostly because somebody didn't design that little plastic cap to be small enough to be behind the unit like it should be. But whatever, I'll accept it. It's not a big deal, and obviously the space is a little rough anyway. So if you want to go over to the next slide, we'll head on outside.
What brand is this? We have a question in the chat.
This is a Climb Air. So this is there's two manufacturers that produce what are called DIY units. And the only thing that makes them DIY is that they the line sets that come with them are pre-vacuumed, and have a valve that maintains that vacuum until you seat them properly. If I didn't choose that DIY set, then I would have had to, ideally purge the whole thing with nitrogen, test for leaks, and then vacuum, like pull a vacuum on the thing before I filled it with refrigerant.
And how large of a space will that heat or cool?
So this is, like I said, it's 1200 BTU, so it's probably targeted for 500-ish square feet. The room that it's servicing is around 750, 800, but there is a small amount of ductwork that's also servicing that area. So I figured between the two, it'll probably do it. And also, like, this will be fine. The nice thing also about this is it allowed me to run 120 volt power to it because it was an appropriate size, and I already had a circuit ran outside for that I just popped into. So this is what the outside line set looks like. If you look at the top there, there's two brass fittings that attach to the copper there. That's where the line set attaches. Like I said, there's a special like valve that when it's seated, it opens up. So until then, like, it keeps the moisture out and everything else. I attach these to the wall. There's also a long communication line, which is what that black thing is there, and then the clear tube is the condensate tube. Yeah, if you go to the next one, you can see this is the outdoor unit. It's relatively small compared to the unit on the right. The one on the right is a what is it, like a 5-ton central air heat pump unit compared to I think it's a 1-ton is what 1200 BTUs would be. So you can see the difference in size. The kit came with some mounting hardware to get it up off the ground. I wasn't sure if I really wanted to do this, but at the end of the day, I was too lazy to level everything and like pour a pad for it. So I figured this would be fine. And the fact that it's attached to a cinder block building means that any vibration is going to be dampened pretty substantially anyway. The line set is 25 feet long, which is way, way more than I need. So as a result, I ended up having to spool some of it along the back there. I've read some folks that gripe and moan about having that spool oriented vertically because it might give the oil, which the compressor and the refrigerant all have oil in them to allow them to run it, might give that oil an opportunity to pool down below it there. But I don't know. I'm gonna just kind of roll the dice on that not being that big of a deal because it's so close to the level with where the compressor would be at. And like this stuff is designed to push things around, so I would assume that oil can get around one way or another. That outdoor unit you're seeing there is actually pre-charged with refrigerant. So once you hook up the line set on both ends, then you just open up two valves on the side of the unit, and then that is what charges the entire system there. So once I did that, the next step is to wrap everything with some, I think they called it vinyl tape or whatever. And that was just done to clean up all the stuff and make sure that insulation, you have to insulate both of those line sets, that insulation isn't exposed to the environment. I'm sure UV would nuke it like it nukes just about everything else. And while I was there, I went ahead and also added this snap together ductwork that covers everything, just to clean it up, at least the downward spot a little bit more, and like I said, to protect it from any UV and stuff like that. And that was kind of about it. I think that's the last photo. This project took me, I don't know, maybe 8 hours total, and it was mostly because I was by myself on a ladder and just kind of fiddling around back and forth with some of my decision making. And really the capping and stuff like that was probably about 3 hours of that work, just because it involved drilling holes into cinder block walls and things like that, which is a lot of work. So yeah, these things are to be able to both heat and cool a space for that price, and it's super quiet. Like, it's like other than the indoor unit fan, you don't hear the outdoor unit at all, even when it's running full blast. So And heat pump technology is getting real good so that it works, way down in the temp range. And as a result, I've been able to, for this building anyway, cancel my gas service, which this is probably comparable in expense to natural gas, but for half the year, if I'm not running the heating, I'm just paying for like a line hookup fee, and so that ends up costing me what, 30-40 bucks a month just to have it hooked up. And so after you math that all out, this kind of comes, at least balances it out a little bit. And I don't know, I'm somewhat banking on electrical prices staying pretty consistent relative to gas prices. So anyway, that's the project. I've got actually 2 more of these to install through the rest of the building to service everything else, but they'll be a little bit bigger and probably from the same brand though. Like this all went together really nicely. So yeah, it's got Wi-Fi. You can set it up for home assistance, and you can plug it into your phone and set it up that way. It's got several different modes that are, I don't know, seemingly nonsense. There's one that literally looks like somebody being healthy, like it's like a man outstretched with his arms, like looking strong, and that's supposed to like somehow filter out pollen and stuff like that. I don't know. I think these are obviously like Chinese made, and I think some of that stuff comes through as a result. So, but yeah, it's all smart and everything else, and I can turn it on and off from anywhere and all that other goodness.
All right. Well, thank you, Andrew, for knowing how to put one of those in. All right. Next up, we have Isaac showing off his old friend Darkness.
Hello, friends. This is a comparatively simplistic and approachable project. Perhaps that will be a little bit inspirational. It's certainly an electronics thing that is achievable by any person. If you would advance the slide for me, please. Speaking of pollen filtration, this is an air purifier that I have in my home. I am allergic to pollen, and so this is very important to my quality of life. I like this air filter very well. It's able to filter a large room effectively. It doesn't make a lot of noise, and unlike most air filters that I've seen, it's not aggressively unattractive. So I've gotten along with it very well. So well, in fact, that I recently decided that it would improve my life even more if I got a second one to go in the bedroom, which does help allergy-wise. But if you would advance the slide, it really made me aware of a downside to this particular unit, which is that like so many modern electronics, it makes a really unnecessary amount of light to no real purpose. This is its fancy user interface, which is ultra modern. So it's got this sort of disc that you tap. You tap it to turn it on, you tap it to change the fan speed, and then you tap it to turn it off. But it also has this like disc of light behind it that's supposed to indicate its current power level, which is entirely superfluous. I mean, when you turn it on, obviously it's on. When you change the fan speed, that just happened. You can hear it. So that light is not a helpful thing. And I've seen online that other people complain bitterly about this as well. If you advance the slide, there's all type of crazy solutions on the internet because people like these filters, but they hate the stupid light. So like you put rubber bands around them, or you get like a permanent marker and you try and like damp down the mark with a marker or like a paint or something. Those solutions to me are not very attractive. They don't work terribly well. But most significantly, the lighting on this particular unit serves a second purpose, which is that when it gets to be time to change the filter, it lights up a different color. And, obviously you can keep track of when it's time to change the filter other ways, but I got other things to think about. And so I like that it lights up and tells me. So I wanted to retain that feature somehow, but still let it be dark in normal times. So it was time for exploratory surgery. If you would advance the slide for me, please. I have pulled off the top of this thing and flipped it over, and that contains all the business. It's got the fan and the minimal electronics it takes to make the thing work. And the disc, of course, is part of that as well. And I've circled here the disc. You can see from the bottom, I was very excited to discover that it actually has screws right there, as if to say, why don't you pull me open? And I said, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I took out those two perfectly normal Phillips head screwdriver screws. And if you'd advance the slide, you can see the chewy insides. So naturally, there's a circuit board in there. That's expected. But what I've sort of highlighted there is a little arc of translucent plastic, which is what the LED light is diffused through. And if you advance the slide for me, please. I have awkwardly marked out, there's these basically 3 sections that the plastic has been molded into so that LEDs fit in these little chambers and there's not any cross illumination between them, right? So there's LEDs associated with 3 different chambers to show the 3 different power levels. And what I discovered to my delight is that there are actually 2 LEDs per chamber, a white one and an amber one, which lights up when it wants its filter to be changed, which is super, super handy. I knew now what I must do. And so you can see there's sort of a little wire umbilical cord that connects that circuit board to the main body. So I just unplugged that so I could take the thing loose. And, you know, perhaps you would anticipate some sort of an elegant solution on my part. Maybe I would use, you know, a soldering iron and carefully remove the LEDs that I didn't want to use. But no, if you advance the slide, what I actually did was take a pair of diagonal cutters and brutalized those white LEDs. In part because, you know, they have very little intrinsic value. I certainly wasn't going to reuse them, but also I was angry at them. And it was very cathartic to destroy them physically as they had destroyed my sleep in previous nights. So that's easily done. And you could do the same with something like nail polish, you know, maybe to sort of, you know, just cover them up with something opaque, but I don't feel like that it would have the same sort of emotional release that I achieved through this particular approach. And so if you advance the slide, then you can see the board without those offensive white LEDs is good to go, right? It's still got the amber LEDs on it. And now it's just a matter of reinserting that into the chassis and screwing it back together. So, I mean, it was a very simple chore to undertake. The whole thing would have taken 5 minutes if I hadn't stopped to take photographs for your edification. But I enjoyed it so well that after I brutalized this one, I then took the lights out of the other one for no reason other than pure malice on my part.
Ugly light. Flashlight.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. It's not needful. And so I have often seen these criticisms of modern electronics. I'm sure you have too, but there's no reason why you have to put up with this foolishness. You know, it's usually pretty easy to get in there and modify these things and take away their ability to shoot photons into your eyeballs, which I have done here with great satisfaction. And that's it. That's my project.
Now, as someone who has destroyed a lot of circuit boards for my own pleasure and amusement, I wholeheartedly support this project.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Isaac. All right, and finally in the lineup tonight, Jared's going to show his fancy keyboard. If I had to guess, I would think it makes a lot of noise because all fancy keyboards make a lot of noise.
Oh yes. Hey everybody. So I've been working on this keyboard specifically for about 5 years now, and it all started with I had a Razer Black Widow, which was just like the super entry-level budget mechanical keyboard back in the day. And I had that for, I don't have a camera, sorry. But yeah, so I had that for a couple of years, and then the switches started going in it. And I was looking for a replacement for it, and I found this this circuit board called the minivan keyboard, and it was a 40% keyboard, which means that it only has 44 keys total. And everything else you have to access through function layers, or on this one, I've just left it off. But yeah, so I bought the circuit board because it was like $30, and I bought some switches on drop, and those showed up about a year later. So for like a year between ordering everything and getting all the parts, I had nothing basically. And this was back in undergrad, so you know, I didn't have fabrication equipment. I didn't really have any way to put this thing together. So the first thing I did, and really the first like makery thing I ever did, was I had some acrylic custom laser cut for this board. I drew it all up in CAD and I sent it off to get it cut out. And so for about 1.5 to 2 years, this thing was kind of skeletal just sitting on my desk because I didn't have an exterior case for it. I only had basically an interior chassis and then some brass standoffs that it stood on. But when I joined Knox Makers, I dug this thing out of the closet and I brought it into the shop. And I've just kind of had it there now since I've been there. So late last year, I got a big old chunk of walnut and I decided I was just going to finish this thing. So I started buying keycaps for it. I started buying all the little things I needed to finish it up. And I also, spent some time to learn how to use the woodworking equipment. And I made this keyboard entirely on the table saw, with the exception of the hole that the cable goes through. Which is, that's something I'm really proud of because not a lot of people think of the table saw as a tool for sculpting, but you can really get some cool facets and angles and stuff. So if you want to advance the slide there. So the design of it was kind of inspired by my Model M, which is my just general purpose keyboard. I've actually got it attached to my desktop right now. And I rescued this thing from a Sears. The missing key is the asterisk, which is the only key I lost through the whole process. And I don't have any extra keys, so I need to order one. I know. But yeah, so I mean, this thing works beautifully. It sounds really nice and clicky. And it only took 5 years to finish. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of it, and I'm pretty impressed with how it looks and feels and stuff. And for just wrapping it up last night, I'm really happy so far.
It's very slick looking.
Thank you. It also works with my iPad, which is great because I don't have an iPad keyboard now. And yeah, the number pad's going to take another like 4 years. So look forward to that.
2025. Here comes.
Yep. Originally, this was supposed to be like CNC'd out of plywood, but I never got that far with it.
And so the keycaps came from where, you said?
So the keycaps came from AliExpress. They're DSA profile keycaps, and then the colored ones came from Signature Plastics because they were running a special promotion where you could just buy like one individual key that was printed with whatever, in whatever color you wanted. And those took about 6 months to show up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's like this whole thing is like the original keycaps took about 6 to 7 months to show up, and then I bought these, and it's not been a fast process to get anything.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But it all worked out, and I don't think I'll be getting rid of it anytime soon. So.
Nope.
But yeah, that's about it.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, well, that is all the shares we have for tonight. We have just a few announcements. We have a Woodworking 101 class coming up this Saturday, the 22nd, from 9 to 11. I believe there's still tickets for that. We have a Machining 101 class. Billy's starting up the machining classes again. So if you want to get authorized in the machining class, in the machine shop, you can take these. Machine 101 is on Thursday the 27th, 7 to 9. If you want to be authorized on the Bridgeport Mill, there is a class on the 29th from 1 to 5 on that Saturday. And yeah, so those are our classes. We have a new policy coming or in place that is about broken tools. If you break something in the shop, we have a thing now where it will be required to file an oops ticket. If you don't know about oops tickets, that's how we find out that stuff is broken so that we can go and fix it. We had some stuff get broken, some stuff get left in pieces, and we wanted to make sure that everybody has access to the tools and that they are fixed when they need to be fixed and operable. So yeah, that is a new thing coming. If you have questions about the oops tickets, there are multiple avenues to file one. You can file one online on the website, and we'll put links and stuff, knoxmakers.org/oops. You can also do it in Mattermost. I believe you do a /command oops, and you can just do it from there, or you can send it to the board. I mean, you have to just tell people. So yeah, this is a policy that's in place for that. Mask guidelines. We are, let's see, I did not see. If you are vaccinated, you do not have to wear a mask within the space per the CDC, new CDC guidelines. Oh yeah, and going back to the thing about the broken ticket, the broken tools, you could also tag the tool if it is broken so that other people know in the space. If they don't see an oops notification or something, they can just see the tag on the tool and know that it's broken. With the mask guidelines, if you are vaccinated, you no longer need to wear a mask in the shop, effective immediately. Yeah. And yeah, the new rule is that you must submit an oops ticket and tag out the tool. That is the new rule. And finally, I mentioned before that the in-person show and shares are starting again on June 8th at 6 p.m. We will finally be meeting back in person for our Tuesday night show and shares. This one on June 8th will be special. We're going to have a little cookout and a social hour before the show and share. And we are happy and very excited to have people come out. So please join us on June 8th, 6 p.m. We're doing a little cookout and sort of a get to know everybody again, because a lot of us haven't seen each other in quite a while. So that will also follow with a all-star spectacular show and share. No promises, but we're going to blow it out. And just another reminder again that if you want to show something here on the few remaining virtual show and shares, you can send an email to sas@knoxmakers.org. If you want to support Knox Makers, you can do so several ways. You can go on to knoxmakers.org/donate, and there will be a donate button there, and you can designate money, your own personal donations to go there. You can also use Amazon Smile. I use Amazon Smile all the time. You just literally just enter in Knox Makers as your beneficiary there, and a small little amount of money goes to us with every purchase you make. Doesn't cost you anything, doesn't add anything extra to your checkout process. It's just a real easy way, and we get a little bit of benefit from that, from everybody using it. So those are a couple ways you can use it. With that, we are wrapping up tonight's show and share, and just gonna open up the cameras, open up the mics, and so that everybody can just kind of chill and hang out. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week, one of the last few remaining ones. Thanks for coming.